Heartbreaking news from Iowa. Authorities saying they believe they have found the body of missing college student Molly Tibbetts. They believe that she was abducted and then killed by an individual they named as 24-year-old Christian Rivera. They said he is an undocumented person who had been in the area or here. We're not sure if that meant the community, the state, or the United States for about 4 to 7 years. They say he basically kept to himself, and they believe he is the person who killed this missing college student. Charges right now are first-degree murder with a possibility, of life without parole. That's the latest in the Molly Tibbetts case. We're going to switch gears yet again and talk now about the case of President Donald Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen. And to help us break that down, Law and Crime's Ronn Blitzer is here with me. Ron, I understand you were in court for this hearing. You're outside now. What can you tell us?
Yes, Aaron. I'm outside the federal courthouse in downtown Manhattan. I was inside the courtroom as Michael Cohen entered his guilty plea in this case. He admitted to a number of things. There were 5 counts for tax evasion, for income that was not reflected on his tax return. Count 6 was providing a false statement to a financial institution. He failed to disclose all of his liabilities in an application that he made to a bank, that he acknowledged that he did this knowingly. Then we get to count 7 and 8, and that's where it gets really interesting. These are regarding payments made to who we can only assume are Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels. Count 7 was for coordination and direction of, it was for an illegal corporate campaign contribution that he said was at the request of the candidate, at the request of Donald Trump himself. This was an arrangement that he made with the CEO of a media company. As we understand, this is related to AMI and the deal that they made with former Playboy Playmate Karen McDougal. That was a $150,000 payment. That amount was specified. It was specified in court that this was to keep information related to an alleged affair with the president from damaging, to keep it under wraps so it would not damage the campaign. Count 8 in particular was related to payment in October 2016 of $130,000 that Cohen made through a company that he set up. That, as we understand, is the payment made to Stormy Daniels. And this, too, was made in coordination and the direction of Donald Trump. Cohen admitted that he knew that he himself knew that this was illegal. This not only is quite the bombshell here because it blows up any claim that Mr. Trump had made in the past that he was unaware of these payments at the time. Cohen swore under oath that not only did Trump know about it, he directed it and helped coordinate it. This story with Stormy Daniels is far from over, as there's still the civil lawsuit brought by Stormy Daniels that had been put on hold pending the criminal investigation into Cohen. Now that this case is over and Cohen has pleaded guilty, he's set for sentencing on December 12th, that case in all likelihood would move forward. And seconds before we just went on the air here, I got word from Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti, that he is looking forward to going after Donald Trump.
You know, that's not a surprise. I know that many of us have been in contact with him. Look, Ron, let's go back to the heart of this thing here because, okay, Michael Cohen, he's a big figure, but Michael Cohen said, and I've seen your reporting, I've seen other reporting on this, that he did these payments at the request of the candidate himself. Is there any ambiguity whatsoever that he might not be talking about Donald Trump there?
No, there is no ambiguity here. This was, the words that were used were the candidate, and specifically regarding the candidate's campaign, there is no ambiguity here. So my understanding of the way this went down, though, is that Cohen didn't actually utter Donald Trump's name as part of this. He just said the candidate. Right. Donald Trump's name was not said by Michael Cohen in court, but it did say the candidate for office. And going against what Cohen had said in the media in the past, as you recall, long ago, it seems now, Cohen had said that he made the payment to Stormy Daniels on his own and was not repaid. In court today, that was said to be otherwise. He said that he was later repaid by the candidate.
Yeah, so now it's gone from the personal money to the non-personal money of Michael Cohen to this being done at the request of the candidate himself. How far does the train go along the tracks here, Ron? I know you've been following this very, very closely from the beginning.
That remains to be seen what goes on from here. But what was very interesting was, before this hearing, we were discussing in the Law and Crime office in our newsroom what could be happening here, because reports were coming in that Cohen, as part of his plea agreement, was not necessarily going to be cooperating with federal authorities. And we wondered, okay, well, what kind of a deal is it? Now we know his guilty plea is the cooperation. He is giving all the information. He just said it all in open court. There's no need for him to now go and cooperate with Robert Mueller or any other prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, because he's done that now.
So this is information that, in theory, could grow legs and continue to walk far beyond this particular hearing.
Yes, absolutely. It is implicating Donald Trump as going along with and directing what amounted to crimes here. Now, as sitting president, Donald Trump, in all likelihood, would not be indicted on any of these charges. Remains to be seen what might happen, once his term in office is over. But it definitely gives, it's definitely political fodder at the very least.
It is. Ronn Blitzer, I know you've been following this case very, very closely for us here at Law and Crime. Your pieces on lawandcrime.com have set much of the conversation about this. I read everything that comes out of your mouth, Ron, and I will continue to do so. Appreciate you running over to federal court basically at the last second to make sure we didn't miss 1 minute of this.
Glad to do it.
All right. I'll see you later, Ron. And just to recap for you folks watching here at the Law and Crime Network, 4 big stories that we've been covering this afternoon. Let me recap them and break them all down for you. As Ronn Blitzer just reported, there have been guilty pleas by former Donald Trump attorney Michael Cohen on tax evasion, making false statements with relation to credit decisions, and excessive campaign contributions. I counted 8 counts there that Ron mentioned that are guilty pleas by the former personal attorney to Donald Trump. That's one big story. Also, legal news related to the Trump administration, guilty verdicts on 8 counts related to tax fraud, bank situations, and failure to file taxes properly for the former campaign chair of the Donald Trump campaign, that's Paul Manafort. Those decisions came down basically at the same time as the Cohen plea in a different federal court, the Manafort court in the Eastern District of Virginia. Now, there was a mistrial on 10 counts. So bottom line, 18 counts were originally tried against Paul Manafort by prosecutors. Guilty verdicts on 8, a mistrial because jurors deadlocked on 10 of the counts. Some of those 10 counts are said to be or could be characterized as the more serious counts, but bottom line, prosecutors may choose to retry them. Okay, that's the second story. Moving aside from the Trump administration legal issues today, we heard just moments ago here on Law and Crime that authorities in Iowa believe they have found the body of missing college student Molly Tibbetts. They have arrested an individual named Christian Rivera. He is an undocumented immigrant. They believe he had been in the area for a number of years, but he basically worked and kept to himself. They believe that he approached Molly Tibbetts, circled back around several times while she was out jogging. She basically tried to tell him to get lost. He abducted her and later killed her. Those are the accusations against the individual who is now under suspicion, who has been charged with first-degree murder. That carries a maximum sentence in Iowa, as authorities said, of life without parole. And you could see the desperation, the grief in the eyes of the authorities when they made this announcement. They said of the Tibbetts family, they raised a good daughter. Those were the words from the authorities in Iowa. That's the third big story we were covering here on the Law and Crime Network. Also, we continue to monitor two other trials, I should say, here on the Law and Crime Network. One is the Shayna Hubers case in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. We have a crew there. We are also continuing our live coverage of yet another case, the Roy Oliver case. This is the case of a Texas police officer accused of shooting and killing a 15-year-old named Jordan Edward. That case has wrapped up for testimony today. We are continuing our coverage of that case when testimony picks up tomorrow. We have had a lot to report here on the Law and Crime Network. I urge you to continue to follow us on Twitter and on our website, lawandcrime.com, for updates on all of these stories. You won't want to miss one bit of the proceedings in any of these cases as they continue along. We are going to sign off for the day as I understand it, though. A great job by the team making sure we keep on top of things. We're going to continue you now with our regular recorded programming, and we will see you back here live tomorrow morning.